really want it, gotta own it. Fought through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine, yeah. I'm making a play, the game on the line, yeah. I've been on the grind, yeah. I jump in the spot, I made it my time, yeah. Look in the sky, yeah. The stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already, emotional work and devotion. We put in this time, look. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. Coming to take what's mine. Can't stop, won't stop, won't. If you really want it, gotta own it. Blood, sweat, tears, liquid. If you take us down, keep fighting. Off day, gotta bounce back. Might have took an L, we don't count that though. Remember back, we was down bad. Now the way we looking, gotta doubt that. I know you see the way we moving, giving game. Better listen like a student, don't talk bad it, be about it, do it. Look here, really ain't nothing to it. I got proof for you like tenfold. Always down for the team, 10 toes. You been hater, we been on. Won't quit till I'm in the end zone. Won't stop till I hit the goal line. Never been the one to need a cosign. Can't stop it already, emotional work and devotion. We put in this bedtime, look. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. Coming to take what's mine. Can't stop, won't stop, won't. If you really want it, gotta own it. Blood, sweat, tears, liquid. If you take us down, keep fighting. At the end, I'll be there waiting for the rest. I don't take pity on the man who couldn't keep up with my best. No contest, no. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. Coming to take what's mine. Can't stop, won't stop, won't. If you really want it, gotta own it. Blood, sweat, tears, liquid. If you take us down, keep fighting. I got the fam, I got the keys, I get the work. I am the man, you know what I'm saying? So leave it to me, cause I get it first. Yeah, woo, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm riding around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drummer, that's word to my mama. I'll cover you up like a toast. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They tryna get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy. It's only win by default, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats, ayy. I pay my dues, check the receipt. Looking at you, you already peaked. Way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. Last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up.
Las Vegas, a city of flashing lights and constant flair, yet tucked in 15 miles away from the main strip is an intermediate oval replicating the same, this time as a challenge waiting for the field that's yet to tackle this type of track. Live from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Las Vegas, Nevada, we welcome you to the fourth race of the Season 6 4-Wide Racing TJ's Tees Series here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And welcome to the coverage on the KBueno Racing Network, where alongside Francisco Bacalhau in the broadcast booth, I'm Kenneth Bueno. We sit at three different drivers that have visited Victory Lane this season, Francisco giving us no clear runaway favorite to start the season off, but how would tonight's bout with the first 1.5 mile track of the season help us figure that out somewhat?
The first mile and a half of the season, Kenneth, and it's an important one. A lot of the schedule consists of mile and a halves. There's a crucial number of mile and a halves in the playoffs, especially the finale of the season. So getting it right here is going to be important. But also, you mentioned that there are three races, three different winners. So there's the very good possibility that we could see a fourth different winner. But I also wouldn't keep my eyes off of Lawson Peele. Sure, he won only one of the three races, but guess where he's finished the other two? In second. So Lawson Peele, he is very much there contending every single race so far this season. So I think Lawson's going to be one to watch here tonight. He's won here before with the next-gen cars as well, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be on the minds of everybody here as a potential threat for the race win, Kenneth. But Las Vegas, mile and a half racetrack out in Nevada. There's a lot of things you can do here in the city of Las Vegas. You can go to the Caesars Palace. You can go to the Luxor Hotel, the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, or if you're a race fan, you could go over to the 1.5 mile racetrack that's just outside of the city itself in North Las Vegas, right next to Nellis Airstrip. And this track, Kenneth, has been around for a good bit of time now, since the late 90s, and it's been through some reconfigurations. The iRacing version, of course, is from 2009, not terribly recent, but it still is very accurate to what we see now in terms of the actual dimensions with the banking and all sorts. So I think these guys are in for a very much of a treat, and that 1 and 2 is going to catch a lot of drivers out with the bumps.
In the same vein, you've got multiple grooves here at Las Vegas, so these drivers are going to be experimenting a little more than, let's say, a Nashville Super Speedway or Phoenix or maybe even an auto club in some cases where you'd find drivers all over the racing surface. Last week race, though, at Phoenix Raceway Francisco was an absolute barn burner. We took the green flag with Luke Canup, the defending race winner at the time, Lawson Peel, right alongside him in row number 1, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno would kick off probably the biggest crash we both have ever seen on the sim.
Definitely the biggest crash I've seen, Kenneth. Just cars piling in nonstop on the first lap, and that spelled trouble for most of the field, and trouble there for Mikey Neal, who gets spun around by the 38 of Kyle Benson, and there you see the 99 of Forster, and Pandicio gets some damage as well to set off our second yellow.
A lot of drivers taken out early with that big crash, and Forster, one of the heavy hitters of the series, being taken out as well. Little mistake out of turn 2 by Craig Lautenslager will push TJ Bursk to the front of the field. He would take the lead soon thereafter from the 45 of Luke Canup. It felt like nobody, Francisco, could stop Luke Canup in his tracks, and he was trying to make sure that he wouldn't go away without a fight. A little bit of a bump and run to take the lead back almost midway through the race.
And Luke Canup was on a mission in this race, kind of to prove that what he did at Nashville was no fluke, and he was one of the dominant cars of the day. And there you see him just getting right in front of TJ Burks to retake the lead after losing it a handful of laps ago. But the green flag run would end right there with contact with the lapper of the 24 of Anderson.
And then more contact. Brandon Banks, one of the most consistent drivers in this series, gets tangled with Ryan Pandicio. He goes for a spin. Really the first incident we've seen Brandon Banks collected in for most of the season. And a restart right here, pivotal one, as TJ Bursk, Francisco, kept pace with the 45 almost all night long as he got near the front of the field. He wouldn't let go of things, and here comes the first pit stop. A long green flag run puts Lawson Peel into the pit lane first.
Lawson was one of the first cars to come in, Kenneth, and then we would have a lot of other drivers come down pit road. But you know what happens when there's green flag pit stops? There's different strategies. Guys on new tires, guys on old tires, and that would end up being trouble. Guys with those new tires getting around the older, slower traffic, they get loose with the cold tires, and boom, Kyle Benson overcorrects it into the outside wall. Luke Canup spins around as well, bringing out the caution mid-cycle.
Tough break for Canup. An onboard look with Kyle Benson shows the incident at full glance, and the 38 gets right into the outside wall. Canup led 118 laps in that race, but really things wouldn't matter after that. TJ Bursk would hold on to the lead late in the race. Lawson Peel, for the second straight week, falls short, and TJ Bursk, with 2 straight weeks of disappointment and confusion, finally able to rise above the ranks and get his first win of the season. And TJ Bursk, Francisco, was in a very interesting place because 2 of those races, Auto Club and Nashville, felt like he couldn't put them together with internet connectivity issues or just getting involved in incidents. But as he led 65 laps from 34th on the starting grid last week at Phoenix, shows that he might be one of the favorites and heavy hitters for this season of the 4Wide Racing Series.
And a stat we mentioned just before we went live, Kenneth, is that there's been no driver to start inside the top 20 this season and win the race. That's going to be important. The importance in qualifying matters. It depends on your pit box. But there's been no driver to start up in the front and capture a win. So who knows what that's going to mean for us tonight, if the pole sitter or somebody that starts up front wins here, or if we continue that trend. If so, then anybody can grab it.
Well, there have been 3 different winners so far this season, and probably wouldn't be surprised if we get a 4th. Last time we were here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, it was Colin Forster getting his race win. And with the next-gen cars, that ended up as an absolute stunner in the last laps decided by green-white checkered territory. And with these Xfinity Series cars on display for the first time this season, a lot of questions to be answered, especially within that Stonks Motorsports camp and everyone around them. We'll see how they can rebound. Hear from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but as drivers sit behind the iRacing official pace car, let's bring you the starting grid of tonight's race here from Nevada in the first 1.5-mile race of the season. On pole for the first time is rookie Patrick G. Thompson in the 88 with a 30.230. He brings it to the pole. He'll lead us to the green, and for the second time in a row, Luke Canup will start this race on the front row, this time second in row number 1. AJ Green in the 48 with his beef Toyota Supra lines it up on third. Eric Schaefer sporting a breast cancer awareness Chevrolet Camaro paint scheme. He puts up a nice time to get him on the outside of row number 2. Mikey Neal looking for redemption after the last 2 weeks have gone sour for the rookie. He starts tonight from 5th. Craig Lounslugger in the 13. He's had a pair of fast races. He starts in P6. Tony Kimmett is in 76, is 7th. Kyle Benson in the 38 looks to rebound after crashing last week at Phoenix. He'll start tonight from 8th. And then the final 2 in our top 10, Ethan Fonseca Moreno in the 43, and Lawson Peel, 2nd place for the last 2 weeks in a row. We'll see if he can change it starting from 10th.
Brandon Banks will be starting from the 11th position alongside California native Daniel Michel. Jaden Porter, your defending champion, will start alongside rookie Ryan Pandiccio, who's in 14th. You have Adam Alishire starting in the 15th position, and rookie Trevor Haley will be alongside him in the 16th spot. Lance Hill, looking to try and have a good race here today, will start in the 17th spot alongside league owner Tyler Murray. And we have Jesse Prees and Wyatt Brackett in your 10th row.
And behind them, row number 11, Jeff No, the rookie driver, is 21st. Kevin D'Elia alongside him in 22nd. David Brackett will be in 23rd, right on his outside, the 33 of Tyler Warner, among those drivers in the Murray Reedy Motorsports camp, trying to have a solid outing for the first time this season. Christopher Bishop starts in 25th. CJ Munier in the 89 is in 26th place. 27th goes to the rookie in the 17, Craig Parks, and Richard Rico for the 2nd time making his start in the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series. He is 28th. Brandon Gillis is 29th, and rounding out the top 30, the first driver, Francisco, not to take a qualifying time, last week's winner from Phoenix, TJ Bursk.
Trying to see if he can make it 3 for 4 out of drivers starting outside the top 30. We'll see what goes on there. Austin Reedy has been fast at Las Vegas before. He'll start deep in the field in 31st. Colin Forrester making his 2nd start. Also be down the order in 32nd. Curtis Kelly will be in the 33rd spot alongside Michael Newbraw, who's in that Power Rankings top 10. Kenneth, a good start to the season for the driver of the 6th. And rounding out your field in that 18th row is the 29 of Timothy Cook in a Reese's scheme very much similar to Brandon Banks, and Travis Anderson in the TJ's Team number 24 machine.
So that does it. 36 cars lining up here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We go for 134 laps, around 200 miles around the 1.5 mile speedway in the sunset, and should go right into nightfall here on the West Coast. 321.6 kilometers on tap for the evening. And for the weather, well, it is definitely cooler, Francisco, than what it was last week at Arizona. I think we had enough of the heat. Now we get some of the breezing air as we move forward into the fall season. 68 degrees on the track temp, 66 in the air. We probably could see that decrease further as the night progresses forward. But I'll tell you, Francisco, the wind is as strong as we've ever seen it. 9 to 10 miles an hour to the west might affect the handling a bit on the machines this night.
It definitely will. When you look at the way the racetrack is, if the winds are out from the west, that means you're going to have handling issues in 1 and 2 because the wind will be coming from across the racetrack. So you're going to have to keep the car under control in turns 1 and 2 here tonight. The fortunate thing is that they're going to have a lot of grip on the racetrack. As the sun sets, it's going to be a cool racetrack, so nothing like last week. But as we move on in the season, Kenneth, in real life it might be getting closer towards winter, but this season is just kicking off. So they got to enjoy the spring while it's here, because eventually we'll get into the summer months in the sim, and races like Talladega, Pocono, Michigan, they'll have some hot track temperatures, and that's going to cause for a lot of tire wear. But that's when we get there. Here at Las Vegas, while this surface does wear out, they got a lot of different challenges of their own, which line to take. Right there in 1 and 2, Ken, at that bottom is going to be very important because it's the shortest way around. But there's a lot of bumps down there.
It can get very treacherous here at Las Vegas, and the challenge is posed to the driver starting up front. Patrick Thompson, his first ever pole. This definitely could be a statement made for Thompson if he's able to show out tonight. He was fast in practice, of course, set that pole time in qualifying, and now it's up to race time. See what he can do with the rookie stripes on the back of his Camaro. He's got another rookie alongside him, but Luke Knupp has already showed us what he can do behind the wheel of a race car. Maybe Thompson can be next on the board. A pretty long race here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll go right into the nightfall, and it's our first intermediate race of Season 6. It took us 5 races to get there last season. It takes us 5 to get there this time. pace car makes its way to the entrance of pit road. The 88 of Patrick Thompson alongside Luke Knupp in row number 1 brings us to the green flag, and we're underway for the 4th race of the season from Vegas.
The field clean so far through turn 4, Kenneth, and to complete the first lap for the second week in a row, the 45 will be the leader of the race, and there you see a battle for second with pole sitter Patrick Thompson, who's struggling on the opening lap. Eric Schaefer is going to try and take that second spot, and he will, and there's the 13 of Lauenslager working that middle line to try and move up to 4th.
Looks like the inside line didn't do the 88 any good on that opening lap, so Thompson will fall back to 3rd, maybe even 4th, as AJ Green goes for the taking. Looking for that podium spot. He beats the 13 of Lauenslager to the entrance of 3. They'll settle it out coming out of the final corner. And for lap number 2, Luke Knupp finds his way back to the front. And this is already a clear getaway. Almost about half a second on Eric Schaefer. Thompson looking back to the inside. But I'm surprised there, Francisco, that we saw the 88 go through that many struggles on the first lap. You probably would expect him to immediately take over the lead, and Knupp would probably give way, but definitely wasn't the case. Thompson falls back to 3rd.
There was a car on the backstretch that was far sideways, Kenneth. I couldn't quite make out who it was, but it was almost an incident. See if we can get a look on it, as it almost caused a yellow flag. As you see battles deeper in the field, but a lot of this is due to cold tires, Kenneth. We have a really cold track surface, and then not to mention when you start with new tires, they're very cold. So for the first lap, or really 2 in this condition, it's going to be very loose.
Try and tiptoe your way around this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Probably why Thompson lost those spots. Not as confident in his tires and just trying to get into a bit of a comfort zone as this 4-way battle for the top 13 tries to settle out, and it looks like they will. Jaden Porter going at it for 14th with Lance Hill. Back to turn 1. You got a battle further up the field. How about a bout for 5th? Mikey Neal on the inside of Lauenslager.
That inside's going to be tough, especially in 1 and 2, Kenneth. You can carry a lot of momentum on the outside here. There's grip to be found out there. I expect some of these guys to maybe venture up closer to the wall as we get later on in the run. But look, everybody running the bottom is allowing Lauenslager to just roll that middle lane and go by everybody on the outside. It will allow him to at least make a run for 3rd. And there you see behind him is that 43 of Ethan Fonseca Moreno coming off that 3rd place finish at the Phoenix Raceway. Kenneth, he's looking to try and continue the West Coast momentum in his side of the country.
And with a brand new paint scheme and a brand new manufacturer, this is the first time we see Chevrolet for Ethan Fonseca Moreno, and first time we see a scheme that really hasn't been the KBRN paint scheme we're used to seeing over the first handful of weeks. This is an Alpha Prime design that Moreno wanted to run tonight for Las Vegas, and as he works the outside of Kyle Benson, he'll try to step into the top 5, and I believe on that last lap, entering turns 3 and 4, Francisco, there was a big checkup behind Thompson, and you can tell AJ Green, Kyle Benson and company, they're all slowing down, trying to make sure they didn't run into the back of Thompson's 88 Jack Daniels machine, and in that result, has slowed them down considerably. Craig Lauenslager will look to the outside of Eric Schaefer for 2nd, and Luke Knupp has pulled away by 2.7 seconds. Look at the gap building up as we cross the line for lap 8.
He certainly has taken off, Kenneth. I've never seen a gap this large, this quickly to start a race. Luke Knupp is dialed in. He has exactly what he wants in his race car, and they're battling incredibly back there, Kenneth. This car does not have a lot of aero drag in it, but he has a lot of speed in that race car, and he is putting it to good work, getting that gap right now, making sure that he can take care of those tires. The good thing about having that big of a gap early now, Kenneth, he can relax. He doesn't have to push the car at all. He has a gap. He can worry about saving tires, and there you see his teammates trying to get up to 2nd. These two, Kenneth, last week, were 2 of the fastest cars we had on the racetrack, and now they're both in the top 3.
And for Luke Knupp, you can imagine, Francisco, that he wants to make things up from last week at Phoenix because he was undoubtedly the fastest car other than TJ Bursk and dominated the race, led 118 laps like we said earlier in the show, but it was the fact of pit road strategy where he came out on fresh tires, spun the car at the exit of turn number 4, and that was basically race over for him in terms of contention for the win. He found his way back to 5th on fresh tires, using strategy to his advantage, but it was a big what if at the end for driver 45. So Luke Knupp is making sure that those doubts are silenced very quickly. 2.8-second gap to Lautenschlager, who finds his way to second place above Ethan Fonseca Moreno. And how about Jesse Priest stepping into the top 5 as he works the outside of Eric Schaefer?
It looks to me, Kenneth, that 88 is struggling a bit there, and he's kind of holding up everybody on the inside line, so it forces everybody to have to make a move on the outside. And for most drivers, they don't seem to have enough grip to really power on by as quickly as they need to, and that's what's causing this stack up behind the 88. But a couple cars have been able to get through, and you mentioned it right there, a good start early on for Jesse Priest. He's running just outside the top 5 position behind the 3 of Eric Schaefer, so Jesse Priest with a solid start here tonight, and he needs those points.
Right on board with the 00 into the top 5, and his Drinking Bros Racing teammate Eric Schaefer right in front of him. So it looks like DBR representation. A little hectic inside the top 5. And they're looking for some more drivers to step in for sure. They've got some near the rear of the field, and you look at one driver back there that's worthy of note. Entering the top 10, Lawson Peel. Bit of a bump up the racetrack there on Kyle Benson, working on his outside. And Lawson Peel, of course, second place for the last 2 weeks. Francisco, you figure that obviously that hurts. Not once, but twice. It probably hurts the tenfold in a way when you know you can win the race, you know you're that close to victory for the second time in the season, and it does not go your way. But, I mean, talk about consistency as well, despite the fact that there are those emotions from losing those 2 races for the last 2 weeks in a row. He knows that he has the points lead with his win and 2 second-place finishes to boot. He's got a really good start to Season 6 in a car that he didn't have much confidence in last season.
I certainly know that feeling, Kenneth, and for a driver like Lawson Peel, you have to get past and go to the next race and try to break that streak. That's all you could really do. You have to put it behind you, and at least the good thing, like you said, is that he can take those points with him, which in this championship format, Kenneth, it is extremely important to do so. So it's not a bad thing at all. It's not for waste. It's definitely for a good reason, and he's so far had a pretty decent car early on. He's now behind the 88 of Patrick Thompson. But you mentioned it just a little bit ago, Kenneth, the DPR guys and the BBR guys, they're in a hectic fight for the top of your team standings, your team championship, and it's very much between DBR2 and BBR for the top position at the moment. So a lot of those guys are heading towards the front of the field, and it shows why, Kenneth, they've been very fast so far this season.
It's interesting in the fact that KBueno Racing was just a 2-car stable last season. They've grown significantly to around 4 to 5 drivers, and all of a sudden, their team championship favorites as Ethan Fonseca Moreno finds himself in a fight with Craig Lautenschlager. They both go side by side for that second spot. And Eric Schaefer not too far behind either, so he's got the popcorn waiting for the right moment to strike. He'll take position whenever he can. And it's very significant to see that change because the only other team that really struck hard against Drinking Bros Racing in the last couple of seasons has been Stonks Motorsports. And so far this season, Francisco, they haven't been as good as we've seen them, and partially due to the fact that a lot of them have been involved in skirmishes and crashes early in each of the races this season. AJ Green, though, has been the exemplary driver for Stonks Motorsports, performing so well week in, week out, and still trying to fight through some of the struggles that the team has faced over the first 3 races of the year.
And we didn't get to see much of AJ Green last week because he was involved in that lap 1 crash. He was the first car sideways after the contact with the 43. So AJ getting his first bit of racing truly since the Nashville Super Speedway race, Kenneth, and he's picking up where he left off in that one. He's running in the top 5. And AJ Green, ever since winning that championship, Kenneth, he's been a consistent driver, able to pick up a couple wins every season. So AJ Green looking to try and continue that trend to hopefully get into the chase and make a run at the time. But here's now Lawson Peel getting past the 0 of Jesse Priest. He'll try and slide up off the corner. He'll leave him the space and look just behind him. That is the 38 of Kyle Benson and that Cheez-It machine trying to follow him through.
Well, the Wabash, Indiana native of Priest almost got stuck in that maybe Cheez-It X sandwich, if you will. I mean, it's not necessarily the most delectable meal of all time, but it is a meal nonetheless, if you can think of it as one. But the 00 of Priest is going to stay on the outside of Kyle Benson here. This fight continues for the top 7. We've seen a couple of drivers get loose throughout the race, and we've seen some battles here and there. It's starting to simmer down, though, over the first 18 laps, and Luke Knupp, if you're just wondering and just tuning in, still up by 2.1 seconds. Remember how we talked about TJ Bursk, Francisco, starting deep in this field? First driver not to put a qualifying time. Here he is, top 15 as of lap 19, working on Daniel Michel.
very much has been able to pass just under a car each lap in this race, Kenneth. So a really good job by the driver of the 94 to methodically work his way through the field. And look, there's a handful of cars just in front of him, so he can definitely get into this top 10 soon enough, and he'll be just fine, Kenneth. And that's what you like with this race car. You can make these moves. You can go elsewhere on the racetrack and really gain these positions. So if you're a driver like TJ Burst who could afford to do this and do it quickly, he's had no assistance of the yellow flag so far this evening. We have yet to see it, and he's already driven up into a decent position into this race. So TJ Burst so far taking things slowly and patiently, but he's also been able to make some pretty decent moves as well. And looking at the top spot, Kenneth, it looks like Luke Knupp is kind of maintaining the lead now as he's probably looking after his tires. It's holding at about 2.2 seconds. There you see the driver of the 45, and he is leading his teammate now by about 2.2. And you see those two behind him in the that is going to be the 3 of Eric Schaefer and the 43 of Ethan Fonseca Moreno. They have also pulled away a little bit from 4th place. So those two cars, you see them in the back shot right there, kind of put a gap on AJ Green, who's now in 4th.
They're starting to sort of get rid of the pressure behind them, which was definitely prevalent when Patrick Thompson was in the middle, Kyle Benson was there, Lautenschlager, AJ Green, just a whole mess of cars. They're starting to pull away quite a bit, so a little bit more relaxation for those two behind the wheel as they try to chase down Knupp over lap 22. But to touch on your point about TJ Burst, he's been passing about a car or so every lap, which, like you said, I mean, it's a product of the Xfinity Series car being used this season. You can see a lot of drivers come and go, and you'll see that talent show despite wherever anyone starts in the race, whether it's at the front of the field or deep in the field. And for TJ Burst, he started the race last week at Phoenix in 34th place. Found himself at around halfway near the front of the field fighting against Luke Knupp for the race lead. So safe to say you cannot count TJ Burst out anywhere on the racetrack, even when he starts that deep and doesn't even set a qualifying time. Top 7 battle, Patrick Thompson, Jesse Prees in turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, and Thompson has had a struggle in this opening run, but he still runs inside the top 10. You see he's been persistent on running that bottom line, and has forced other cars to have to run up top. And Jesse Prees was ahead of him at one point, and unfortunately for the 0 now, he's still in that battle with the 88 as they drift away from your top couple of cars. Thompson running in the 8th spot, Prees down in 9th. And there you see Tony Kibbett and Brandon Banks just behind them trying to see if they can move themselves into the top 10.
Two drivers that found trouble, Francisco, at Phoenix Raceway. Kibbett, after a caution flag came out, ended up getting into the rear of Christopher Bishop, and then the 54. We saw it on the highlight package, getting turned by Ryan Pandicio, both of them making contact at the exit of turn 2. And around the back straightaway mark entering turn 3. So both of these drivers are looking for a bit of a comeback, despite the fact that, I mean, Tony Kibbett did finish 18th, so not exactly the worst finish based on the situation that he faced. And the same for Brandon Banks, who somehow mustered a top 10 at the checkered flag in Avondale, Arizona. But still, pair of Drinking Bros Racing drivers that are looking to weave their way up in the points further, and especially that 54. We know how good he can be, even if he doesn't get that many wins in the season. And the 76 of Tony Kibbett, the Race for the Cure Chevrolet Camaro. This is one of a handful of Breast Cancer Awareness Month paint schemes for October. And beautiful shots, Francisco, of these cars going around Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But most importantly, beautiful pink and black and white race cars that we're seeing tonight. Of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, very important. We've celebrated it before on the KBueno Racing Network. Back in 2020, we used to have our bottom ticker be decked out in pink with the ribbon. And so it's nice to see that Eric Schaefer, Jesse Prees, giving a nod to Breast Cancer Awareness Month in 2023.
Yes, of course, Kenneth. It's a very serious issue, and we feel for all those that have to deal with it. And sure, maybe this particular person didn't have to deal with breast cancer specifically, but still, because we haven't mentioned it on a broadcast yet, Kenneth, we definitely feel bad for the Pollux family, as Sherry Pollux, longtime girlfriend of Martin Truex Jr., did pass recently due to ovarian cancer. I would know, Kenneth, cancer has not exactly been a friend of mine and my family, so you'd love to support all the people that have to go through it and deal with it, and you just hope that all your friends and family can, if they unfortunately do get it, that they can go through with it, do the chemotherapy or whatever kind of medication, and better themselves. If they're able to get through the other side of it, they're one tough person.
That couldn't have been said better whatsoever. And for Sherry Pollux and her family, we send our condolences to the Pollux family. I mean, such a close relationship with Martin Truex. And I remember that one year that he rode with Sherry Pollux on his race car back at the Roval a couple of years ago. and such a big part of the NASCAR sport overall. So very sad to see that happen. And of course, it's so cool to see that Eric Schaefer and Jesse Priest running these paint schemes in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Surely an issue that we hope can get solved in sooner than later. So top 5 have all separated here at Las Vegas. Of course, Luke Knupp is still up by about 2 seconds over his teammate, Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Cars in the outside wall, and I believe that is TJ Burskett was right behind Jaden Porter. The exit of turn 2, first rare mistake shown out of the 94.
And he has slipped back just a little bit. He was up in about the 12th spot, and now he's down in 15th. We'll see if we get a second look at it. But it's late in the run, Kenneth. We're already 30 laps into these tires. We're about 10 to 15 laps away from any potential pit stops. And let's go and see. And he's battling here with the one of Lance Hill, and he decides to go to the outside. It's really the highest we've seen anybody go. And right here, you start feeling the effects of the wall. He moves down just a little bit. He's on the outside of 3 wide, and looks like maybe gets loose there, Kenneth, because all of a sudden he makes a correction into the car. He has to steer it, and he kind of turns it into the wall. Fortunately for him, it was just a little kiss, and with this new damage model, it won't really affect his car that much, so he'll be able to go back at it and attack to try and see if he can gain some positions. But also, Jaden Porter now has moved up a couple of spots. He's now up to 13th after battling for 16th just a little bit earlier. So it's been a struggle for the 28, but he is holding station just outside the top 10.
We saw what happened there with the 94. You'd expect that to be an understeer situation where the right front would just give away and you'd find yourself in that outside wall, but Burst just got loose and it slipped up the hill, got into the wall. Minor damage to the 94, but it doesn't look like it will affect him that much. But you're right, Jaden Porter has been looking for some sort of positive outcome out of any of the 3 races we've had this season, and last week definitely did not go his way. He found himself in that huge lap 1 crash on the back straightaway, and after starting 8th, fell as far back as beneath the top 30, was multiple laps down, found the way to repair his race car, but the defending champion could only find his way to 27th before the checkered flag waved, signaling the end of the race. So Jaden Porter, sitting 13th at the moment, has been trying to break free of the curse, and that's hit him as a defending series champion. And while his KBueno Racing teammates in Knupp and Moreno have been running most of these races at the front of the field, Jaden Porter still trying to find his stride.
And he had a good run going for him at Nashville. He got a good finish there too. So that's the kind of performance Jaden is probably looking to try and repeat once again. Started on pole, led many laps in that particular race. And though he didn't win, Kenneth, it's certainly his best performance of the season, because you look at Auto Club and you look at Phoenix, and those are not the kind of races we expect to see out of this driver of the 28 who won a championship a season ago. So Porter definitely trying to get acclimated to this race car, and it's certainly been an issue for him personally. So he's going to see if he can work some of those issues out and improve as the season goes on. And there you see the 43 trying to chase down his teammate. He stays about 2 seconds back, but look who's moved up into 3rd just behind him. It's that 12 car of Lawson Peel. You see that car in your mirror, Kenneth, and you have to think of that Jaws theme, because, man, he's been up at the front every single race so far, and whoever's in front of him is certainly feeling the pressure.
It's just a dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun. And, I mean, the song ended abruptly at Phoenix and at Nashville the past 2 weeks, of course, but for Lawson Peel, definitely strong no matter what car you put him in, and so skillful, and especially these tracks where the tires wear out so much and you have to rely on long-run pace. And to find yourself at the front, Peel is known for exactly that. And like you said at the top of the show, he is a previous winner here. Back in Season 4, he was fairly close to the win in Season 5, where Colin Forster grabbed the checkered flag. But Peel knows a thing or two about winning on these intermediates. They're pretty much his bread and butter on the iRacing sim. You see him fighting the race car, using the middle, and I like that. Use a car in the outside wall, and that is Ethan Fonseca Moreno. I'm not sure whether that was a graphical glitch. It might have been. But a tag to the wall there, a bit of a scare for the 43, and for us.
Well, yeah, let's see if he actually did get the wall, because sometimes you'll see that the smoke will pop up and it kind of exaggerates what actually happens. So he's going through turn 2. It kind of blinks. I think that's exactly what it was. It was just a little connection blink right there, because it doesn't look like he actually got the wall. He's driving fine. He's still on the racetrack, and there you see looking up has actually gotten past a lap car. That is the 9 of Brandon Gillis. So just before green flag pit stops, Kenneth, we've already had lap traffic. So definitely expect to see more of that if we stay green and after pit stops. We did have one car come down pit road. It was the 36 of Tyler Murray that made a pit stop. He now runs in the 35th spot. Mikey Neal is also down in 36th, but I believe he is a couple laps down, maybe had a pit road penalty as well. There you see Murray now exiting pit road. So we are a handful of laps. We are a handful of laps away from green flag pit stops here, Kenneth. Definitely about 5 or so from seeing most of the field come down pit road and make tires. So it's going to be important getting on and off pit road. We've seen that so far in every race this season, Kenneth. We've had green flag pit stops. And getting on and off pit road is very important.
And keeping your car collected out of pit road is also a big thing, right, too? We talked about Kyle Benson and the 45 of Luke Knupp getting into an issue at the exit of turn 4 right after they made their pit stops and were on Goodyear Eagles that were brand new. So you got to make sure that you keep yourself steady, especially on this rather bumpy apron here at Las Vegas. And we're watching many drivers, including Lawson Peel and some of your leaders, be about a lane or so up from the very bottom in turns 1 and 2. They want to avoid those bumps that unsettle the race car. Either they push the car up or get the rear end oscillating and get that car sideways. As here's one driver coming in for pit road. AJ Green being the first to tackle it. Tony Kimmett right behind going sideways.
That's going to cost him a lot of time. The fortunate thing is he doesn't hit anything, and he's able to go in the right direction, but certainly lost at least 5 or so seconds there in that spin, Kenneth. You don't really want to be doing that. He's trying to get a lot of time on pit road. Will end up losing time in the process. There you see the 38 of Benson, the 48 of Green. They'll go into their pit stalls and get some service there for themselves. And we'll see what exactly happens here on pit road, Kenneth. These guys that pit first are going to get an advantage here as soon as they exit. But that once everybody else cycles through, they'll have an advantage for the next run. There you see the 3, the 12, the 45. They'll all come down pit road. The 43 stays out for another lap, Kenneth. So Ethan Fonseca looks to try and take. Actually, no, he is on pit road as well. So there you see the 43 right there. So everybody's coming down pit road now as we have a scramble with different cars, different strategies. Patrick Thompson has stayed out. So has the 54 Banks, the 25 of Michel, Jaden Porter has stayed out. Wyatt Brackett, among others that have stayed out on the racetrack. And there you see another taker right there. It's going to be your race leader of the 88 of Patrick Thompson. You see a couple more cars following him as well. And this is around lap 40, Kenneth, which tells me that these guys, at the pace they're going to be in the 3-stop range. They can't quite make a 2-stop work. If this were to go green, they definitely need a 3rd stop, and they might split that. We'll see if it gets to that point, but certainly if they get to that last stop, it's certainly looking like a potential split because there's a wide enough range.
Yeah, they can get really close, though, to the end of the race at lap 134. So as this has played out, without any yellow flags on the racetrack to boot, we've seen this strategy unfold multiple times throughout this series, especially at these larger tracks. I mean, look at Auto Club, how exactly that panned out for the entire field. AJ Green is going to take over 5th. It looks like Luke Knupp should have control of this race once again as everybody cycles out, and it appears they have. Patrick Thompson has made his way for pit road, so the leader will cycle once again on the next lap to the 45 of Knupp, but he's got a fight right behind him because Ethan Fonseca Moreno did not let him get away on that stop, and he's within half a second.
These two, Kenneth, have been very fast the last couple of weeks, so they're trying to see if they can battle amongst each other and see who can take over the top spot. And this 43, Kenneth, after a couple laps in the run, on the previous run, he started closing in the gap on the 45, so don't look now. But Ethan Fonseca trying to see if he can chase down his teammate and take the top spot away. You see the lap car there on the bottom. That's going to be the 7 right there. And you see it kind of messes the 43 up a little bit, causes him to move up the racetrack. There's Lawson Peel and Eric Schaefer, another pair of teammates trying to battle. They're trying to see if they can get up and make a challenge for this race lead. But Kenneth, you've covered races here before at the Las Vegas Winter Speedway, specifically where the 43 has ran, and he's been fast here before, so it's no surprise for us seeing him run quickly here.
Yeah, the KBueno Racing Network, Ethan Fonseca Moreno led a bunch of laps at Las Vegas in the Work Dynamo Designs National Series, utilized the same Xfinity Series car you're seeing right now on your screen as Eric Schaefer tries to look on the inside of Lawson Peel, and he does. That'll get him inside the top 3. Peel will give way for turns 1 and 2, but Moreno has been blistering fast at tracks like these, and even then, while Luke Knupp extended to an almost 3-second gap, over time, that 43 chipped in little by little, a lap by a lap, and it almost got within 1 second flat. So Moreno is definitely faster than the 45 over the long run, but maybe it could be a case of Knupp not exactly showing his hand outright, maybe showing that he's got pocket aces, and that Moreno maybe has a pair of kings on a flop that at least has another ace on the board. And the 43 getting within range, but might have to fight against Eric Schaefer in the 3.
We'll have to see how this pans out, but I've also seen a race where Ethan Kenneth, he's dominated. If you remember, we both were in this same race. He was very dominant here at this racetrack. Goes under the lights as well. Unfortunately, just different tire strategies resulted in him not getting the win late in that one. But certainly the first time I remember seeing him have a standout performance. So to see him be here fast tonight is definitely what we should expect out of Ethan as we come to these mile and a halves. He's definitely very fast, and so far is showing that to be the case. There's the 10 car trying to do battle with the 91 of Adam Alshire just behind him. And Patrick Thompson has cycled out to 11th after pit stop. That's why bracket running in the 19th position right now. This is about 13 and a bit seconds behind your race leader, so just over half a lap behind. But you look at those at the top 4 battle, Kenneth, and it's going to be very intense because those guys, for the most part, have pulled away from 5th place. If you want to look at 5th place, it's AJ Green, who's about 3 seconds off your leader. And now Ethan Fonseca is now just 2/10 off your race lead.
The 45 is looking at the rearview mirror, and he sees Ethan Fonseca Moreno there, but Eric Schaefer is going to be the tertiary car. He makes a move to the inside for second, and he's got it.
Looks like Ethan gives it to him, tucks back in line, and he'll try and follow him through. Eric Schaefer on these new tires, Kenneth, he's been attacking, and he's now trying to put the challenge on the 45 for the race lead. Eric Schaefer has finished top 5 in every race so far this season, Kenneth, and he's trying to see if he can now add a win to that total.
2 third-place finishes at Auto Club and at Nashville, and then a 4th-place finish at Phoenix Raceway 1 week ago. And I remember reading one of the top 10 power ranking articles a couple of weeks back that Tyler Murray writes each and every week on the 4Wide website, and he said, at Eric Schaefer's bio, he said that he begged for the Xfinity Series car, and there's a reason why. Schaefer has been fast week in and week out. He's got a shot at the race lead for the first time tonight. A big dive in turn 1 on car 45. They've got Travis Anderson, the lap car, next. But at lap 50, the 3 car trying to put a fight to the dominant race leader so far.
And we'll see what Luke Canup does here. Does he go defensive? It looks like he's going to go to the bottom. Eric Schaefer looks a little bit higher, and he's going to try and cross him over. You see he's going to pull in right behind the 45. He'll get him loose off the corner. Look how far lower 45 exit off of turn 4. They're going all the way down to the apron. That's free game back there. You can go down there. Schaefer's going to look to the bottom in turn 1. Remember, there's bumps on this part of the racetrack, so the handling might not be well, but it won't matter because he'll clear the 45 with the crossover move.
And the 45 back to the inside. Can he get help from Moreno? Right now, the answer is going to be no. And a bit of contact. Moves the 3 up the track. Here come the BBR cars to the inside as Canup takes the race lead once again.
Now Schaefer will have momentum down this front straightaway, but he's going to try and give the draft to his teammate in hopes of keeping both of them side by side behind him. Schaefer is still definitely faster, Kenneth, and he's going to try and dive it back to the bottom and get back to the 45. He gets him into the back bumper. They're both sideways.
And they're making contact and getting rather physical. Remember that highlight package at Phoenix where Luke Canup gave the back bumper to the 94 of TJ Bursk and said, hey, I'm just going to move on my way and get to the race lead. Well, Eric Schaefer's trying to do the same thing right now, as he gets a little roughened up by the 43 of Ethan Fonseca Moreno. But as they're doing this, look at the 4th car in line, and it's the Jaws theme music coming up once again. Lawson Peel, who has been hanging around in 4th, loves to see this battle, and it's a double-edged sword in the fact that his teammates involved in it. He loves the sight because he's got 3 or so cars right in front of him. Target practice for Lawson Peel.
Kenneth, those guys are battling intensely, but they're the fastest 4 cars on the racetrack, so they're pulling away from the field at the same time they're doing all this. It's great stuff to see.
And the 5th place car, AJ Green, look how far he's back from the field. Just got around lap car. Craig Parks into 17. And making that a total of 29 cars on the lead lap. Travis Anderson will be the next to be a lap down if we remain under green flag conditions. And everybody, even behind AJ Green, still a ways back. Kyle Benson in the 38. He's about a couple seconds off of AJ Green at best. Then another couple of seconds before you get to Craig Lounslager. Then a bit more until you get to Jesse Prees. Then TJ Bursk, who has cracked the top 10 for the first time tonight. And then Lance Hill, who's a couple seconds off the 94. And then everybody else behind. So it's a large gap from the top 4 to 5th on back. And a big disparity as this race goes into the 2nd long green flag run of the night. Top 4 are all clustered in by half a second as here comes Peel to the inside for 3rd.
At some point, I expect someone to try and run that outside lane, Kenneth. There is grip up there. I'm not sure if the track temperatures probably don't favor it because of how much faster you can run the bottom compared to normal times. But certainly there's some grip up there if you run it just right. But I'm not sure if that'll wear the tires out too much. That's a possibility, and that's why you don't see them doing it so much. But it's certainly an option. I ran some laps here throughout the weekend. If you can run up there just right, you can gain a lot of momentum on the straightaways and maybe set yourself up for a pass on the next corner if you do it just right. But right there, you see the 43 just trying to get the 3 off the painted line on the bottom. That'll allow him to try and close up to the back bumper and make a move, but he'll just tuck in line on the front straightaway.
It's a Virginia-California clash, the 3 and the 43 going at it. And then the Arizona native of Canup staying in the race lead for now. He's withstanding all of this pressure. And look at this outside move here by the 43. Looks to get a run off of turn 2. He has it. The 3 tries to shut the door, and he does. Not giving him the time of day nor the space entering turn 3, but he gives up the inside lane in the final pair of corners, and Moreno goes to the inside for second once more.
But look, the 3 is going to have a more immediate help with draft as far as getting a little bit of a draft off the 45, and then the 12 is going to try and push him ahead. Now the 43 is in a disadvantage in turns 1 with the bumps. He's going to slide up the racetrack just a little bit. You see Schaefer has to kind of go up a little bit to give himself some room so there's no contact. And now here comes Lawson Peel looking to make it 3 wide to the bottom.
And he does. 12 car to the inside, 3 wide for second. And that's going to allow the 45 to pull away by just that little to at least hold off the pressure from these 3, and the 12 unsuccessful in his attempt to get to the inside of both the 3 and the 43. And so he'll try once more. Schaefer looks up to the very top. Peel on the middle, the 43 on the very bottom. Peel's got to run on his teammate out of turn 2, and he will not take it. And top 4 continues to pull away, and they just lapped. That's the 76 of Tony Kivitt as they continue to go at it side by side for third.
I like what I see out of the 3, though, Kenneth. He's moved up, and he gets enough of a run to be on the back bumper of the 43 going into the corner, and that's really all you need. Once you get there, you got to try and move and pick a lane and then try to do something, but now he's having to hold off the 12 of Lawson Peel, so those teammates are battling each other for the third spot, and it looks like Schaefer will give way to Lawson Peel now, so move the 12 car up to P3. And all of this unfolding in the rearview mirror of Luke Canup, who's led almost every single lap here tonight so far.
Well, he dominated Phoenix, and no surprise in the way he's dominated tonight here at Las Vegas. The last thing he needs, though, is for this race to unravel for him as we get to halfway like it did last week. But so far, KBueno Racing, top 2, DVR, controlling the second half of the top 4. And I like that move by Eric Schaefer, not only because he was a little slower than Peel, and so he definitely was going to give up that spot because he was going to get passed anyway, but Francisco, he probably recognizes that, hey, we're both on the same team. These 2 guys are on the other team. The 45's already won a race. The 43 has gotten very close to it. Eric Schaefer hasn't won a race yet, and Lawson Peel has. And they're both on 2 different teams fighting for the team standings title. I mean, they're probably looking at just a 2 versus 2 instead of a 1v1v1v1. They want to work a little bit together so that they don't necessarily slow themselves that much to get away from the 43 and the 45.
That's an excellent point, Kenneth, because you have to keep that in mind. There's prizes that go out to those that are able to win the team championship, and you want to be part of the team that wins, so you get some bragging rights with that as well. And these new BBR drivers, they want to prove themselves as part of this series. They got the win with Jaden Porter in the championship last season as a driver's championship, but they want to make sure that the team gets well represented in the owners championship, as Stonks and DBR have been those kind of teams the last couple of seasons. So the driver of the 43 and the driver of the 45 looking to try and put their mark on here. And there you see Schaefer starting to just barely lose a little bit of touch with the 12 of Lawson Peel.
So here's everybody beneath the top 5, one of them being TJ Bursk in the number 94. He's inching closer to the driver of the 00, Jesse Priest. Craig Launslager not too far ahead. There's a lot of lap cars in the way. And so they're trying to filter through the lap traffic. And second longest green flag run of the stint so far. And as you hear all that's going around this Las Vegas Motor Speedway at lap number 70, Luke Canup continues to lead the charge. And Ethan Fonseca Moreno right behind, Lawson Peel in third. And they have pulled away from the likes of Eric Schaefer and, of course, AJ Green. That 3-car starting to fall off slowly but surely, Francisco, as we step into our round of pit stops for the second time this evening. And unlike the first bout, where the 45 had such a big gap on Ethan Fonseca Moreno that it definitely helped his cause. Now they're right beside each other, basically, as the 43 gets closer to the 45 with this lap trafficked in the 42 of Christopher Bishop. How differently do you have to attack this strategy if you're any one of these two?
If you're the 45, you can't be as conservative entering pit road, Kenneth. You have to be able to be aggressive and be willing to gain some more time because you don't have that time to give up. And if you're Ethan Fonseca, you have to be able to also try to pit on a different lap as the race leader, because if you try to pit right behind him, it could lead to some contact, and you don't want to have that happen between teammates. So most likely, whether it's a lap before or a lap after, you're probably going to have to make an alternate pit strategy. And then if you're Lawson Peel, just do whatever they don't.
We've seen Lawson Peel take alternative strategies, and at Phoenix, he was the first to pit amongst everybody at the front of the field. So the 12 car, it did work out in his favor near the end of the race. We'll see if he does the same strategy here, though, but he might keep in tabs his teammate in the 3 that's slowly falling back in 4th place. They might pit together if push comes to shove. They're trying to get around some lap traffic. The top 2 are, and we're about 3 wide. Brandon Banks in the 54 going a lap. That's the 29, rather. Timothy Cook, I apologize, going a lap down. The 36 of Tyler Murray on the outside of the 43.
Lap traffic is playing a role right now, and some of them have pitted. I think Tyler Murray recently came down pit lane, so he is on slightly newer tires. That's why he's competing with some of these cars, trying to unlap himself and get back to 1 lap down on the racetrack. So Tyler Murray making a move, and there's Lawson Peel up to the back bumper of the 43, and a little bit of contact was made.
He got into the back bumper, and